Okay, so good evening, people. It is our third class in the foreign train module, Módulo Comércio Exterior of our English for Logistics course. And we are using English because we are happily surprised by the fact that our students can really speak and understand. We're very happy about that. So, with no further ado, our teacher, Mauricio.
All right. Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you, everybody. Bem-vindos aí ao nosso terceira aula do módulo de Comex, Comércio Exterior. Vou compartilhar aqui minha tela, então, e a gente já começa. All right. So, what we'd like to do in the beginning of each class is to do a little overview of the topics that we discussed last class, okay? And you can see it in the material that we will be offering you. The first thing that we'd like to go over are the keywords from our second class. And just for us to, exercise our tongue, our pronunciation, our ears, and just by repeating these words, we can keep them in mind for every time we're going to need it. All right, so regarding the documents that we looked on previous class, we have the pro forma invoice. Pro forma invoice. We also have commercial invoice. Commercial invoice. Packing lists. Bill of lading. Bill of lading, certificate of origin, certificate of origin, shipper's letter of instructions, shipper's letter of instructions, hazardous materials, hazardous materials, Incoterms, obligations, obligations, risks, financial arrangements, financial arrangements, unloading, insurance, and freight. All right? If you have any questions, Cristiane, please just let us know, okay? If you're familiar with these terms, we can move along.
Yes, I know of all of them.
Awesome, great. Let's see, we're on the same page. That's a good. Okay, so last class we also looked over, we had an overview of the most common use Incoterms, okay? The Incoterms are the international commercial terms that help us to speed up the negotiation process, and that is very self-explanatory, but the exercise here is pretty much that we could imagine, let's do an exercise of who pays for what on each Incoterm, okay? For example, the domestic freight on X works Incoterm. Do you have an idea, Cristiane, who pays for the domestic freight on X works Incoterm?
Yes, our responsibility is the importer.
Yes, the buyer and the seller, okay?
Buyer and seller, yes.
In orange here, on this graph, is listed the seller's obligations, and the buyers are in blue, okay? So domestic freight, obviously the buyer is responsible for it. Export fees and taxes on FOB Incoterm. Export taxes and fees on FOB Incoterm. Who pays for that?
The seller.
That's correct. Very good. What
Like the
about
origin in the origin is seller and the destination the buyer, the
that?
text.
That's correct. Exactly. So it's a very, very good graph that gives us that important information, especially the transfer of risk. Okay, you see here the exclamation point, because it doesn't mean that the transfer of risk goes all the way until the orange bar is over, right? There are some stages where the transfer of risk happens, and this is very important when we are negotiating with internationally, okay? So what about who pays for the international freight on the CIF Incoterm? International freight.
National freight is the seller pay the freight.
That's correct. Great, great. So you got the idea here. So it's a very common exercise. What about the freight forwarder on the DAP Incoterm, the freight forwarder in the origin? DAP.
DAP, they're responsible until delivered at the place,
That's correct.
the
So
destination.
the freight forwarder is usually here close to the boarding place, right? So in the DAP, freight forwarders is a responsibility and obligation from the seller. Okay. All right. So this is another exercise that we did in last class, which we presented a dialogue involving a buyer and seller dialogue, right? Negotiation. And the idea here in the material is that you could work in pairs, obviously in class, or you can do this exercise like brainstorming at work. Remember when we discussed the tips that that we wish the students to do is to exercise when you are working, when you're taking a break. So the idea is to imagine a buyer and seller negotiation, and imagine, for example, what kind of product are we negotiating? We could negotiate car parts, or we could negotiate some machinery, and obviously the quantity, because that helps us to imagine the size of this shipment, okay? So 24 pallets of car parts, right? Another important item in this brainstorming is the Incoterm. So you could imagine, when is my obligation takes part, when does it start, when it ends, right? So imagine Incoterms based on the exercise that we did. Also, the transportation modal, right? You could do air freight, ship, right? The port of origin or airport, and port of destination as well, and the international lead time. Okay, so this is just a brainstorming exercise. What do you think? Do you think that helps you, Cristiane, to exercise this anywhere you have time?
Yes, I can do.
Okay, great. So if you'd like, we can go over this exercise, or we can just move straight to the next class, because this is just an overview of last class. Did you take a look at the material we shared?
Yes, I looked at material.
Okay, so basically that dialogue that we have in our material from last class, that's pretty much a standard form for you to exercise it, okay?
Okay.
All right. So let's jump right into the topic of our class number 3, right? Which is the types of packages for international shipping. One of the things that is very important nowadays when we are negotiating abroad is how we handle the products, right? And the experience I have with international freight is that if we don't ask, the chance that they don't do something that we think it's important might happen. And usually we discover that when we receive the products at home or in our company, right? So the idea here is to give some overview of what kind of packages that we could use depending on what type of products that we are shipping, and a lot of good information and keywords whenever we are negotiating either with the seller, with the freight forwarder, or some custom agent as well. Okay, so let's go straight to the most common types of packages, for international freight. All right, so obviously we have the cardboard boxes, right? Boxes and cartons. Okay, cardboard boxes, they are made of this specific paper that we call cardboard. Okay, so cardboard boxes or cartons are widely used for packaging smaller items. They come in various sizes and strengths. You know strengths, how they stay together, right? They can manage the heights and the materials inside to accommodate different types of goods. Okay, so it's the most common way of shipping. Obviously depends on the products that you are negotiating, but you can also have a secure shipping using loose cardboard boxes. Okay, another very common type of package is the pallet. Okay, pallets are made from wood, plastic, or metal. They are platforms used to stack and transport goods. They are often used for bulk shipments, okay, big shipments with a lot of products, and can be easily handled by forklifts. Okay, this is it's a very good word that I use, because forklifts, they have different types, but this is the general name for it. Okay, obviously you can see here that we have a pallet with cardboard boxes, right? But that depends on how you want to handle these boxes. For example, in the commercial invoice, you will have, if you have one product on each box, you would have in the commercial invoice, you would have the quantity of products. So if you buy 25 boxes of printers, in the commercial invoice, you have 25 units. Okay, but if you are stacking these boxes in a pallet for shipping, usually in the packing list or in the shipper's letter of instructions, that's where you change from 25 units boxes to 1 unit in pallet. Okay, so this is very interesting. When you look at a packing list, you see, why do I have 5 units if I bought 25 boxes? So this is very important. That information is usually in the packing list or in the bill of lading. Okay, all right, so next very common type of package are crates. Okay, crates. Usually they're made out of wood. Wooden crates provide sturdy, strong packaging for heavy or irregularly shaped items. They offer protection and stability during transportation. Okay, so usually we use this kind of packages when we're handling very heavy materials, or you need to have some kind of security inside of these boxes, or you have products that can be easily picked out during shipment. So crates are more expensive, but they also work very efficiently when we are packaging specific types of items. Okay. All right. The next one are the drums, barrels, and tanks. Okay, I put them all in one category, but they are usually metal or plastic drums and barrels that are used for liquids, powders, powder, or granular materials. They are sealed to prevent leaks and spills during transit. Okay, the difference between drums and barrels is that drums usually are made out of wood. Okay, barrels are made out of wood, and drums are usually made out of metal or plastic, more proper for this kind of transportation. Okay, so this is an overview of this tank we call ISO tank, and it's very very much used in bulk shipments, okay, because they're easy to handle and to move with a forklift. Okay, all right, let's move forward. Another interesting information regarding how you handle the documentation, how you understand the documentation is the level of packaging, okay? Once again, some information might be different depending on what document you are looking at, all right? So levels of packaging can refer to the different layers or stages of packaging a product that goes through before it reaches the consumer, okay? So we have layers or stages for these packages, right? Before they get to the end consumer. This could include the primary packaging, which is like the box that you see in shelves for the supermarket. Or you can have a secondary packaging, which you kind of like put them together in one box. Usually this is the packaging used for retails, for supermarkets. And you have the tertiary packaging, okay? That is for bulk packaging, for shipping multiple items, okay? So if you have, for example, if you're buying from abroad, a printer, okay? Let's say you buy 40 printers and you have 40 units of printers, but the seller puts these printers in a secondary package that holds 4 printers. Okay, so if you're buying 40 printers, you can have a tertiary package of a pallet with 10 boxes. Okay, so it's just easier to handle, it's easier to ship, but we also have this information available when we are asking for the freight forwarder. Sorry, just 1 second, please. All right, so I think it's clear for this level of packaging, and we can move forward. There's our happy consumer. Okay, another very important information is the shipping method, okay? Because this is a question that is often asked by the freight forwarder, because this involves the kind of uh, uh, agreement that you're gonna make with the freight forwarder and obviously with the shipping company. If you have, for example, a huge load, if you bought a lot of products, you can consider a FCL method, which is the full container load, okay? So that means you have a whole container for your products, for your process, okay? And we also have a LCL shipping method, which stands for less than a container load. Basically, we use this information when the freight forwarder will prepare your products, knowing that if you ask for a full container load, the freight forwarder usually takes the dimensions of this load and search for a proper container, if it can be 20 foot or 40 foot, okay? If you use a LCL method, you are giving permission to the freight forwarder to consolidate your cargo with other customers, okay? Each cargo, each process have a bill of lading, which stands from the shipper that recognize that cargo from your company, but they can consolidate more customers in one container. Usually that's cheaper, and also it refers when you are buying smaller items, right? So shipping method is a very important information to give it to your freight forwarder, and when you are negotiating the costs for the international freight. Okay. All right, move forward. We have also the most common types of containers for sea transportation, okay? There are different kinds of containers depending on what products are you shipping, okay? For example, we have dry containers. These are standard containers used for general cargo, such as electronics, textiles, machinery, and packaged goods. They come in various sizes with 20 foot, which holds approximately 32 cubic meters of cargo. So this is another good idea when you think, should I use pallets or should I just put the boxes inside of a container? Usually, if you choose a FCL shipping method, means that the whole container is only for your products. You can usually use loose boxes, cardboard boxes without pallets. Obviously, we have to think about the handling of these items, specifically regarding time and damages as well. But we have different size of containers for different products, okay? So dry container is this blue container here, okay? And we also have refrigerator containers, also called reefers. These containers are equipped with refrigeration units to transport temperature-sensitive cargo, such as food products, pharmaceuticals, and chemicals, okay? A reefer container, if you are shipping products with a reefer container, it's mandatory that you use a shipper letter of instruction, because throughout the whole transport, you will give specific information of what's the range of temperature that the goods inside must be kept. Okay, so during shipping, they plug a reefer container into the ship, and that engine keeps running. And obviously, we have different temperatures in the ocean, so people will always look and see. They check if the temperature is correct. Okay, so reefer container is more expensive, but it's safer depending on what route you're using or what kind of products are you transporting, okay? Another very useful container, it's called the open top container, which is this third one here. These containers lack a solid roof and are used for cargo that exceeds the height limitations of standard containers, such as machinery and scrap material. Okay, this open top container, it has a plastic cover on the top. You might think, oh my God, that's not very safe for my products. But obviously they have a specific place in the ship. And also they are used for products that are less sensitive to the weather. Obviously, this plastic cover is well maintained. Usually, when I transport products in this kind of containers, I ask for the freight forwarder to take pictures after they load to make sure there are no holes in this cover. But this open top container also helps loading and unloading the cargo, because you can just grab a truck and lift the material from the inside. Okay, so open top container. And the final two most common containers for sea transport are the flat rack containers. Flat racks have collapsible sides, okay? It's this blue one right over here. And these sides, they can collapse, they go down. So you might have a product, a machine, a truck that is even bigger than the container itself, but the base is solid, and usually they have chains attached to these containers to move it. Okay, so it's usually used for oversized cargo like machinery, vehicles, and construction materials. Okay, and finally we have the ISO tank containers, or just tank containers, which is this one here. Designed to transport liquids or gases. Tank containers come in various sizes and are used for chemicals and other liquids or gases, okay? So also, these special containers, they have specific areas in the ship. So they usually handle them all together to make it easier to transport. Some of these tanks also have some information that you have to control it, like when we use in the shipper's letters of instructions. Okay, so tank containers, we have the 5 most common ones for sea transportation. Now let's move to air transport. Okay, now for air, we have a kind of like a name here which we use ULDs. Okay, ULDs are unit load devices. Okay, such as this one here. Okay, these are standardized containers designed specifically for air cargo transportation. ULDs come in various shapes and sizes and are compatible with the loading system of the plane of different aircrafts to optimize cargo loading efficiency. Also, these ULDs nowadays, they are already prepared for any kind of like fire or some kind of explosion. We don't think that this happens, but I used to work at a company that they import airbags for cars, okay? And we had a shipment coming from the United States with airbags. And on each airbag, there is a small device that explodes. So you have a little bomb inside. And we had a problem with these products. And thankfully, the container hold the explosions of these devices, okay? Usually, there are a lot of restrictions nowadays shipping products with this kind of devices or batteries as well, okay? So these are the ULDs. And we also have the pallets that are regular use for loose cargo. Air cargo pallets are flat structures, typically made of aluminum materials. They come in standard sizes to fit into the aircraft cargo and are used to stack and transport cargo efficiently. Palletized cargo is often secured with straps or nets to prevent shifting during the flight, okay? Usually, the freight forwarder is responsible for that arrangement in the cargo, okay? And the pilots can also deny the loading the products if they're not secured, okay? So freight forwarders have partnerships with these kind of airlines, and they usually have this included whenever you hire them for a air cargo shipment, okay? So ULDs and pallets. All right, moving forward with this care, with this preoccupation that we have to avoid damages on international freight, okay? This is very important and must be included in the negotiation, either with the seller or with the freight forwarder, because they are the ones responsible for preparing these products for shipping. And we believe that these information are very important because, like I said in the beginning, if you don't ask, they might not presume that this is necessary, because usually there is always costs involved. So make sure if you are the one hiring these freight forwarders or negotiating with the seller, be prepared to ask these kind of questions, how the goods come after they are they expedite from the warehouse of the seller, okay? And here we are presenting the most common types of damages in international freight, okay? So this is why the Incoterms, they all work together, because these kinds of damages, they happen. And like I said, even though there is risk and responsibilities involved in this in these negotiations, we don't want the products to be exposed or damaged. Usually you will lose that lead time, right? And you have to do it all over again. There's money involved. So be aware of moisture damage. So cargo stored on ships can be exposed to high humidity levels in the ocean, the seawater as well, or rain, leading to moisture damage such as rust or mold, especially for goods sensitive to moisture like electronics or paper products. Okay, another good advice that I always check with the freight forwarder when I'm shipping through sea, by sea, is to take pictures of these containers to make sure you can close the doors so you can see if there are holes in the container. And this is a very good process that can prevent moisture damage. Or sometimes when you are shipping from countries like Canada or Finland, where when you're loading the products in the container, there are a lot of moisture in the air, and when they seal these containers, this moisture can, during the transportation, damage the goods. So also there are some humidity devices that can absorb this humidity, or they can break if the levels of humidity get too high. These it's kind of like a thermometer that they break, and then when you receive the goods, you see, okay, so this happened during shipping. Another common damage is the container damage, right? Improper handling during loading and unloading can result in physical damage to the cargo, including scratches or crushing, right? And this is also very important information, because sometimes the ship doesn't go straight from one port to the origin to the destination. Sometimes they have to rearrange these containers in the ship. Sometimes you have you have ports that don't have a very professional equipment to raise the containers or to load it properly in the truck bed. So this is another very common type of damage. Water damage, like seawater ingress due to leaks or improper container sealing, because containers also, because they come and go, sometimes the doors don't shut very well, they're not sealed, and the water gets in. I was working in a company that we use a lot of open top containers, and we received one day a product that had fish inside, dead fish with water. So these are the types of surprises that we encounter if we don't take proper care. And last but not least, the temperature damage. Like I said, temperature fluctuation during sea transport is very high, sometimes because they stay in the ocean with the sun. Sometimes you can get temperatures up to 50 degrees inside, right? And there are some equipments, like I said, that you can put inside of your pallets that will break if there is some kind of high level of temperature within the goods. Okay, this is another service provided by the freight forwarders, that you can ask them to buy these little thermometers and put one on each pallet, and that will give you an idea of what happens if these boxes get damaged during the international freight. Okay, so temperature damage is also very sensitive especially if you're dealing with foods or chemicals or pharmaceuticals. Okay? Another very important item that will be have to be taken care of. Okay? All right, here are some pictures that I took from cargo that can be damaged. Sometimes when we are buying abroad from a buyer across the sea, sometimes they're more used to transport these goods by trucks, usually in the domestic market. So they don't prepare most of the times for a shipping situation, right? So if they can take a picture whenever they load the container and everything looks nice and neat, but these yellow straps are not tight. This kind of like a piece of wood that we put to make the container more sturdy, right? And depending on, for example, these products here are pretty much like rocks or something. They're kind of like a material for building houses, bricks, and you can see here that they didn't use the whole container, so they stack these on the top of each other. So this is another important issue when you are hiring a freight forwarder, because if you give them 6 pallets and ask for a LCL, they will just stack those boxes in the container with other products. Sometimes other products from other customers damage our products. So this is very common as well, okay? Like here, these are fruits. Oh my God, I don't know what happened here. This is very common, right? Because when you can see here, these are pretty much the customer boxes, right? The primary level of packaging. So these boxes are not very sturdy, and usually when the sellers are just negotiating with you and say, no, I can just put them in pallets, don't worry about it. But the freight forwarder might have to stack them depending of the information on each box. And then during shipping, that's what happens, okay? And there is another one, okay? This is usually by moisture. A tiny little hole can create a whole problem with your products. And then you would have problems with the customs, right? Because whenever these products arrive, and then they recognize that these products are damaged, you have a whole problem to what to do with it, even though you can negotiate with the seller to say, okay, just take it back. I don't. You have to replace these products for me, depending on the Incoterm you use. Usually, is a lot of headaches and problems. Okay. All right. So let's talk about ways to avoid these kind of damages, right? Like we said, the whole class here, use proper packaging, okay? Sometimes we just don't consider that these kind of movements can happen, or these products are well made. Usually, when I'm negotiating with a buyer for the first time, I ask them to give me a document proving that the boxes can hold levels like 5, or if you could stack another pallet on the top, there is a weight that they can hold. So I asked them for this certificate, so that help us to prevent, okay, these boxes are sturdy. And then usually I add them attach this document with the shipper's letter of instructions. Okay, it's just ways to prevent problems whenever the products arrive. Okay, so use sturdy and appropriate packaging materials for your products, cardboard boxes, pallets, crates, plastic wraps, okay, or shrink wraps are very common choices. Another ways to avoid is to use containers, like very appropriate containers for your products. If you have you can use the FCL shipping method. That helps a lot as well. You pay a little bit more, but that helps to secure and prevent problems. And then you can ask the freight forwarder to use more straps and chains and ropes, because the container is just for you, so you have more space to tighten and secure these products in the container. Okay, also another important thing that people sometimes forget, which is documentation and labeling. Okay, when you put labels in the products, because what happens is, if you don't identify very well your cargo, customs might get curious, right? If they look to a document, a commercial invoice or a bill of lading, and for some reason they don't see outside because you have the tertiary packaging and the pallets and everything, they would just ask you, okay, I want to see everything, just open everything. So that costs time, that takes time and money. So documentation and labeling helps a lot. Clearly label packages with handling instructions, shipping information, and any special requirements. Provide every detailed documentation, including packing lists and bills of lading. Hazmat instructions also, because now for hazmat materials, you have a very tight procedures even in airports and ports to handle and how to label hazardous materials, and if customs are curious, they might ask to spread the whole products and identify it, these specific materials. And obviously insurance, okay? If you are involved in the negotiation of these products, consider the cost benefit of using insurance, because you can protect from these potential damages, and also don't waste time whenever these products arrive, okay? And obviously I put here, review insurance policies very carefully to understand the limitations, the exclusions, and claims. Whenever you have a damage, you can claim that property or that problem. So insurance, especially for international freight, they already adapt the documents. So people just look at, okay, I hired insurance. I was happy because it was very cheap insurance, but here they say that everything is covered. But don't forget the tiny little words in the bottom of the page. Okay. All right. So this is beautiful. I love this. Whenever you have the cargo ready for shipping, you have all the labels. Don't worry about it. The more you put, obviously, the better it helps for them to understand. Here is a very interesting label, which we call the overpack label. Okay, overpack doesn't mean overweight. Overpack means that inside of the boxes, there are some hazardous materials, okay? Overpack label, always when you're dealing with batteries or any kind of hazardous material, this is another very important label. For example, if you have a pallet with this label here, flammable fluids, but you don't have the overpack label, you can be sure this pallet will be looked over customs, okay? And this is another example. This is a flatbed container, right? Where here you have a oversized boxes, right? Usually they put this, this is also a service that the freight forwarder provide, which is to secure the boxes in the container. Usually when they go pick it up in the warehouse from the seller, they just get the boxes, the wood boxes, right? So freight forwarders are also very key to this process where they tight and secure and prepare the merchandise and the products for the international freight. Okay, so these are good examples of how to handle properly your products to go on for the international shipping. Okay, so we got to the keywords for class number 3. Okay, so let's go over them. Let's read them out loud. Let's exercise pronunciation. The correct pronunciation helps us whenever we're dealing, even to have a clear English, or when we're dealing with countries that English is not their main language. So we might hear these words in a different way. Okay, so let's go through these words. Cardboard boxes, cardboard boxes. Wood pallets or plastic pallets. Bulk shipments, bulk shipments, okay? Forklifts, forklifts. Packaging, packaging. Accommodate cargo, accommodate cargo. Crates, crates. Drums, not the drums that you use in the band, the drums. And barrels, barrels. Granular materials, granular materials. Leaks, leaks. Spills, spills. Containers, containers. And damage, damage. We don't want to hear that word, right? Okie dokie. So we just got to the end of this part of our class. And now we have a in-class dialogue where we have a chance to exercise a daily situation and will help us not only to exercise using these keywords, but also to have a good overview of how a dialogue related to a negotiation of with a freight forwarder, what kind of information we discuss in this type of dialogue. Okay, so Cristiane, why don't you and Simon exercise this dialogue where we have the situation is a buyer in Brazil negotiating agreements with a freight forwarder regarding a product that they bought in the United States. Okay, so Simon and Cristiane, Simon will be the freight forwarder and Cristiane will be the buyer. Let's go.
Okay. Good morning. This is Pedro from São Paulo. I am looking to arrange the transportation of 20 pallets of car parts from Miami to Brazil. Can you assist me with that?
Good morning, Pedro. Of course, I can help you with that. Who will be responsible for the domestic pickup freight?
Ideally, I would prefer if your company could handle that. Can you include it in your quote?
Certainly, we can arrange the domestic pickup freight. Now, regarding the sea freight, are you familiar with Incoterms?
Yes, I am. I believe FOB Miami would work best for us. We will take care of the sea freight costs from there.
Understood. And what about hazmat materials permissions? Will your company be responsible for obtaining those?
Yes, we will handle the hazmat materials permissions on our end. However, if there are any specific requirements or documentation needed from your side, please let us know.
Perfect. I'll make sure to provide you with all the necessary documentation and assistance. I'll prepare a detailed quote for you, including the domestic pickup freight and the sea freight to Sao Paulo.
Yes, please do. Once I receive it, I will review it with my team and get back to you as soon as possible.
Great. I'll get that over to you by the end of the day. Thank you for choosing our services, Pedro. We look forward to assisting you with this shipment.
All right, great. So let's just go over some little details on this conversation, okay? First of all, Cristiane, this is just some orientation I give to all of the students. Don't rush, okay? Usually when we are negotiating, usually I write down, like we had the exercise in the beginning of the class, write down specific points and topics to go over the negotiation, the Incoterm, the ports, their origin, the destination. I usually write them down, and I don't rush, okay? Usually when we rush to just say it, sometimes we might have some misunderstanding, okay? So don't worry. That's why we exercise pronunciation, because if you speak slowly, but if you pay attention to the correct pronunciation, that will help and avoid any misunderstandings, okay? Regarding, for example, the Incoterms, okay? I usually, because here in Brazil, we kind of like tend to just say FOB or CIF or DAP, right? So just pay attention that in the international business, usually we just say the words FOB, DAP, CIF, okay? Some freight forwarders that are already used to dealing with, for example, Brazilians and specific countries, they already understand. Oh, okay, she said FOB. I got it. But try to remember that to say it word by word. Okay, letter by letter. FOB, CIF. Okay. And basically, I see you have a good communication. That's very good. So just make sure that you don't have to rush to get to anything. Just make sure your communication is clear. Okay?
Mauricio, maybe since we only have Cristiane today, we can change reverse the dialogue, you know, and now give Cristiane the opportunity to read the freight forwarders part, so she can practice with different words.
Mhm.
and then I can read the buyer.
Awesome. All
Okay.
right.
Okay, let's do that, Cristiane. So, good morning. This is Pedro from São Paulo. I'm looking to arrange the transportation of 20 pallets of car parts from Miami to Brazil. Can you assist me with that?
Good morning, Pedro. Of course, I can help you with that. Who will be responsible for the domestic pickup freights?
Ideally, I would prefer if your company could handle that. Can you include it in your quote?
Certainly, we can arrange the domestic pickup freight. Now, regarding the sea freight, are you familiar with Ecoterms?
Yes, I am. I believe FOB Miami would work best for us. We'll take care of the sea freight costs from there.
Understood. And what about hazmat materials permissions? Will your company be responsible for obtaining those?
Yes, we'll handle the hazmat materials permissions on our end. However, if there are any specific requirements or documentation needed from your side, please let us know.
Perfect. I will make sure to provide you with all necessary documentation and assistance. I will prepare a detailed quote for you, including the domestic pickup freights and the sea freight to São Paulo.
Yes, please do. Once I receive it, I'll review it with my team and get back to you as soon as possible.
Great. I will get that over to you by the end of the day. Thank you for choosing our service, Pedro. We look forward to assisting you with this shipment.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So this is a key word from our class today, which is freight. Freight. Okay. Freight. Usually we have with some of these words that have like GHT, okay? So there are only two consonants and there are only two vowels here. So try to exercise that word and then you can hear your voice with repeating that, okay? Pick up freight. Pick up freight.
Pick up freight.
Sea freight.
Sea freight.
Yes, very good.
I put in my cell phone app with AI English and practicing the conversation. They give me that I pronunciation right or not and repeat again.
Awesome. That's great, Cristiane. And do you use that? How often do you use that?
I started this week, but I pretend 15 minutes per day and all day, every day, have a time for it.
Okay, so this is another good tip that we give to our students in our first class. Try to exercise it in your own, right? When you intend to use this app more often, try to get like specific times of the day, and then does this app have any kind of achievements or goals that you can set? For example, the quantity of words that you exercise or the quality of your audio?
Yes. Today I in advance give me the app. It's very good communication they give me.
All right, great. So these are for example, there are apps that you can use, for example, to read labels.
Yes.
Okay? That you can, they translate the information or they can read it out loud to you. Technology today help us a lot, right?
Have a lot.
Yeah, so just don't be ashamed to do that. Sometimes might be kind of like boring to exercise it, but to listen to it and to practice, to hear your voice. Sometimes we get a little bit frustrated, or we just prefer not to say something because or not to ask something because we're afraid that we might say something wrong. Okay, that's why I think your communication skills is very good, because you just go with the flow. But the more, and having that advantage, when you use this kind of exercises, eventually you will speak faster and with the correct pronunciation. And we saw here in the exercise, there are only maybe 2 or 3 words in that whole dialogue that you might just need to get used to that. But in generally, you have a very good fluency, which is very good.
Thank you, Maris.
Okay.
My problem is the nervous. I nervous and a meeting or something like that. I am very, very nervous. And I forgot the words, I forgot.
Yes, yeah, and that's very common.
Problem.
That's
Yeah.
very common. Simon is here and he had like thousands and thousands of students that had that same issue. And that's not a problem. It's just the best way to practice, in my idea, is like, for example, do you usually talk with these people by phone, or how do you communicate with your
In a meeting like that.
oh, so you have like a camera, open camera
Yes,
meetings?
open camera.
Yeah, okay. Well, Simon can add that, can add to that. But when I have a meeting in English, for example, like I said, I have a little short list paper, and I try to kind of like create a sequence of questions that you can control the dialogue. Remember, in the first class, we said we talked about the START method, right? So try to a good way to have a note right next to you is that you can direct the conversation. And then, for example, if you have 5 or 6 questions already written down, you will kind of like motivate the other part to tell you the most of the information just by asking a specific question, right? So try to obviously, right, be calm and breathe. Do you usually talk with people, American speakers, or with other countries?
American and from Europe, France, Germany.
Wow. Okay. So this is something
Chinese, Chinese.
really. So you get a lot of accents, right? Different
Yeah,
accents.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Very
this is. Go ahead.
no, very difficult because Chinese talk is that way. Americans very, very different, and to listen, talk with them is very, very difficult sometimes.
Right. That's why you're doing the right thing on working on your pronunciation, and especially because the more you exercise, the better you get understanding what they're saying. And obviously, I know that there are different accents, and don't be ashamed, Cristiane, to say, could you please speak slowly? Please, can you repeat that for me? I need to write it down. Because another good tip that I can give it to you is that when you ask when you ask for someone, when you tell someone that you are taking notes, okay? Because when you say, just give me 1 second, I'm gonna write it down, okay? And there's no shame on doing that, right? And especially because you have to remember sometimes like a 10-minute, 20-minute conversation, right? Show it to them that you're taking notes. And whenever you are writing down, sometimes they make the pause, right? And that helps you kind of like conduct the conversation, okay? Are you usually in the buyer side of it? Are you in the seller side of it? What's your role in the foreign trade negotiation every
Buyer.
day?
Buyer.
Okay, so you got the money, right? So they must be interested in selling to you, right? So take that role and try to conduct the conversation. Try to say, don't be ashamed of telling them, okay, please, I'm making some notes, and I'm sure they will understand that. And since you're the buyer as well, they will be very interested in getting a clear communication with you. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Maurice.
All right. Okay, so I guess we prepared a little exercise here, just the same idea that we had in the beginning, right? Where you can also at home or at work try to exercise this dialogue, kind of like a brainstorming. Okay,
Okay.
so for example, I just told you to make notes before a conversation, right? For example, just write it down, these notes. For example, include the product name, the quantity, include, for example, if you are buying them in the primary level of packaging or in the tertiary level of packaging, includes the Incoterm. Usually, what Incoterm do you usually negotiate?
X works.
Oh, okay. So that's a lot of work for you, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, and do you have a freight forwarder already set for these negotiations, or you usually have to make a quotation with more than one?
More than one. Normally 3 or 4.
Okay.
And check it best price.
Okay, so this is a great example that you can maybe in your 5 or 10-minute break. You don't have to like go to a specific place, or just get to a place where you can just picture this conversation. And like we exercise here, it's like a 5 minutes, 10 minutes information, right? And try to picture this information in your head. Maybe you can do that even before the meetings, right? Because you have this list of information, and then as you exercise it, words will just flow out of you. Okay?
Okay, Maurice. Thank you.
All right, so I guess we reached to the end of our class today, and thank you so much, Cristiane. Thank you so much, Simon. I hope you get the chance to take a look at the material that I think did you see the material from last class?
Yes.
Okay. I already asked you that. Okay. So awesome. So next class, the idea is to go over a little bit more in details of the money involved, the kinds of arrangements that we have to go, what kind of payments, negotiations. So I believe that you're gonna be very helpful with the skills that you have on your job to help us in the next class as well. Okay?
Okay, teacher. See you.
All right. Thank you so much, Cristiane. Thank you so much, Simon.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Cristiane. It was
See
it was
you.
very nice to see you in class, Cristiane. And I also want to add to something that Mauricio was talking about relative to your English. You have a better English than the average of the people that work in your field. Your English is better than most people in Brazil. So never feel bad about it. Don't feel insecure, you know. Just the fact that you have decided to take a course like this, it makes you better than 80% of the people in your field. I know it's a sad situation. It shouldn't be like that, but it's reality. So congratulations to you.
Thank you, Simon.
You're welcome.
See you next week.
Good night,
See you.
Cristiane. Have a good
Good
weekend.
night.
Thank you. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.